Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast. As we look towards, look back at Cardiff City 3, Mansfield 0, top of the league, and a real nice performance, a good team performance, I thought. We shall talk about it. You have to bear with me a little bit. I'm losing my voice a little bit. I feel absolutely terrible. So for the first time ever, I was contemplating rearranging tonight's show, but I didn't because I never do. That's how I roll. But so bear with me. It might be a slightly shortened version, but get involved because I'm probably going to rely on the old comments more than ever to get us talking. But yeah, look, I was really happy with the overall performance from the team, and I thought certain individuals really stepped up as well. So, look, I did a video. I said earlier in the 5 things video, I did a video outside the stadium, just sort of talking about the team news. And I was a little bit concerned by it because I felt that, like, throughout the season, when Turnbull and Wintle have played together, we haven't looked very good. But I think it worked. And I think the reason it worked is because you've got Callum Robinson in the 10, who is a striker. And he's going to be quite aggressive. I thought he was very intelligent with his movements and when to drop in and stuff like that. But you needed 2 midfielders who were going to sit and stay in position and make it difficult for Mansfield. And I feel that if we had gone with a slightly more aggressive number 8 alongside Wintle, whether it be Robertson, whether it be Joel Colwell, we might have got opened up a little bit more. The first half, though, I thought... I didn't think Turnbull was amazing in the first half. I just thought he was pretty good. But I thought the team was decent. We just didn't move the ball quick enough. But we were the better team. I thought Mansfield, actually, they as I thought they would, they were quite narrow, trying to sort of hit the striker direct or the wingers direct. But I felt they were quite poor defensively. They didn't seem to want the ball. And their keeper didn't want the ball. But they kept playing out from the back, which was obviously played into our hands a little bit. And I thought offensively, they weren't great either. But I thought their midfield was quite tidy. They played the ball out a few times in the first half, quite nicely in the midfield area when we did press. But I thought the balance was right for Cardiff yesterday. I thought Isaac Davis looked really dangerous in the first half. How that fullback hasn't got booked, I think it's about 5 minutes in when Isaac pinches the ball off him, goes round him, and he kind of grabs him by the scruff of the neck and pulls him down. Like how that's not a booking, I don't know. And that kind of changes the dynamic then because, Isaac's playing against a fullback who's been booked, but, it's little things. I thought Isaac was really good in the first half. He faded a little bit as it went on, but he does a lot of running. Him and Kean Ashford, the defensive work from the pair of them was just superb. But I thought both of them were really dangerous going forward. And Kean Ashford, in the first half particularly, I couldn't see as well second half because he was over the other side. But what he was doing is really clever. He'd come right wide, right on the touchline, chalk on his boots, looking for the switch. And then as soon as we started to build up the ball, he just went straight into that sort of number 10, into the little pocket between the fullback and the centre-back. And then Perry NG would be round the outside and we would work it there for the width. And it was very clever. But as the first half went on, I thought Turnbull started to really, you could see he was growing in confidence. He won a couple of 50-50s. He was starting to move the ball. I just wish sometimes, my biggest criticism with him, and it's, look, like technically he's a very, very good footballer. Like that's clear. My biggest probably and main criticism of him, I just feel sometimes I want him to take a risk because I think that he's got the ability to split defenses and open teams up. I feel that he's got the ability to do it, but he's a bit safe with it and he'll kind of recycle possession. But obviously the ball breaks out and he kind of picks it up about 35 yards out and he hits a swerving, dipping shot. Unbelievable save by the keeper, by the way. Absolutely outrageous save. And it wasn't the last one he made either. And obviously we score from the resulting corner. And I felt from that moment, David Turnbull really, really settled into the game. And I thought him and Ryan Wintle really dictated the tempo of it. And we played at a better tempo after that. And when Mansfield started to get a bit of a foot in the game in the second half, I don't think they ever opened us up, or I didn't think like at any point, oh my God, they're going to score. there was one or two little sort of half chances, some crosses in the box, but they were just starting to build a little bit of momentum. And the manager, much like Northampton the week before, he changed the games with his substitutes. He brings in your Joel Colwell, and I thought Joel Colwell was really good at pressing. And in fact, I thought the pressing from the team for the whole game was so well drilled and so well organised that we kept driving them down blind alleys. We kept forcing them to go long. We kept forcing the keeper to put it out for a throw in. Like, we just kept putting them under pressure, because no matter which direction they went, we were solid. We held our position and we just pressed relentlessly. But it was well drilled, so they found it difficult to play out. And in the second half, they just couldn't get out at all. But honestly, I think there was 4 or 5 candidates for man of the match. And I think you could have, if someone had said to you, like, Keane Ashford's the man of the match, I think most people would have been like, yeah, I can go with that. Dylan Lawler's man of the match, yeah, I can go with that. Fish, Wintle, like, it was a pretty big list. And I think that tells you that everybody contributed. You know, Nathan Trotz had a real quiet game, but he did everything he needed to do, and he did it tidy. That's that one save in the second half. But even, you know, the subs, I thought, did very well. You know, Chris Willock, I thought, there's a couple of guys by me who criticised him and saying, like, he wasn't working hard enough. And I get it. Like, there was a couple of little sort of instances with him where you felt he could have done a bit better. But I would agree he didn't look as sharp as he did against Northampton, but it's difficult coming into a game like that. And I don't think it's a commitment thing. I think he did all right. And he played a lovely 2 or 3 lovely, like, reverse balls into Joel Bagan, and Joel gets in behind. And again, shout out to Joel Bagan, by the way. 100th Cardiff City appearance yesterday. And his football IQ is really, really underrated. Like, he's a very, very clever footballer. You watch him when Isaac is playing, and he'll just either invert completely alongside Wintle, or he'll just hold his position and he'll back up Isaac. Soon as the second Chris Willock was on the pitch, Joel Bagan is like, give it and then go. And he's out the outside, running in behind, and he consistently gets in there. But it's that mental thing of knowing when to make the right decision. His crossing, his final ball was excellent. I think he's really become a massive, massive part of the way Cardiff City play. And I said earlier in the season that he's a guy who just seems to have got Brian Barry Murphy's tactics. So he's found it a bit easier to be consistent. But I just thought everybody contributed. I thought every single player did something. The substitutes all came on and did something. I thought Callum Robinson led the side pretty well. He was quite vocal, probably a bit more vocal than he normally is. And he worked hard. You're never going to get the same level of intensity sprinting as, you know, you might get out of Joel Colwell or Ruben Colwell. It's fair enough, they're different players. But he's very clever. Like, he picked up little pockets of space. And he did do defensive work. If the ball breaks down, he was winning it back. And he linked up the play well. You know, Yusuf Salic on another day scores 3 or 4 goals in that game. I think he got in his head a bit, didn't he, when he picked up the ball about 30 yards out. And he did it twice, and he had it. And he should have played it one way, and he kind of went one way, and it broke down. And you could see after that his head dropped a little bit. And then he got in the same position again, and he made the wrong choice again. Or he was a bit slow with it, but he deserved his goal. Like, and I thought it was really interesting that in the week, Brian Barry Murphy was telling Rob Phillips and Nathan Blake that he'd like to see him lessen the contact a little bit with the centre back and be a bit more elusive. And he did that, particularly in the first half. You know, he still had contact, still pinned the centre back when he needed to, and held the ball up. But in the first half, there was quite often like a yard or two between him and the centre backs. And they found it much more difficult to mark him. It meant he was able to get down the channels and get in behind. And it was excellent. Whereas Dylan Lawler's pass for the Capacchio to get another assist was like, what a ball that is. But it wasn't the first time he'd done it in the game. He did it earlier in the first half for Keane Ashford. He played a beautiful ball behind the fullback. Did one for Isaac as well. Same thing. Like, his ability to break lines with his passing is such an asset. And even when he did, he had the ball in his own box. And the only pass really was to go back to the keeper because they'd blocked the passing lanes. And he just drops the shoulder, takes it away from the striker into the midfield, and away we go. And he's just beyond his years in terms of how he plays. And look, I don't think it's a coincidence that we got a clean sheet and Fish and Lawler are back together. Like I think when you look at this season, if you went back through all the different centre-back pairings, I would almost guarantee that Fish and Lawler have got the most because they've probably played the most together, but they've looked the most secure together. I think Perry and Ronan Kapakia were interchangeable. I don't think there's a lot in it. I think Ronan gives you a bit more pace for recovery, but also going forward. I think Perry gives you a bit more physicality, which you need at times. So they can be interchangeable. Bagan does his job, obviously Trot, and then you've got Wintle in front. And I think what we might see in Ruben's absence now is I think we might interchange the number 10, depending on the opposition. Now, I'll be really fascinated by the Huddersfield game because I think Huddersfield are really, really suspect defensively, but they also score a lot of goals. So for me, and again, I'm not a manager, but my opinion is we have to go with Fish and Lawler in that game if they're fit, and Bagan, and then make a choice at right back which best fits Huddersfield's forward line and tactics. Midfield wise, will be interesting. Do you go with the solidity of Turnbull and Wintle, but maybe you sacrifice a bit of tempo, but you grab that solidity and you go with a Robinson or someone like that in a 10, or do you go with a more midfielder sort of number 10 in a Joel Colwell, bring a Robertson in and go for the tempo over control? And I think it's different games. I thought the goal, Keane Ashford's goal, like obviously the 1-2 takes the plaudits, the net where Keane gets the ball, plays it into Alex Robertson. Alex plays a perfectly weighted ball back to him through the eye of a needle. Keane gets the ball, obviously the keeper saves it, he gets the rebound. But a build up to that play, I haven't seen anyone do a clip of it yet, but I would love to know how many passes were involved in that. And it was all sort of, two touch, just boom, boom, boom. Just what a goal it was. And again, just saying about the different sort of comparisons in, the different options, Turnbull, Colwell, Robertson. If Turnbull gets that ball from Keane Ashford, does he look to go over to the other wing? Does he look to recycle it to the centre back? Or, I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying, would it have been a different decision? Whereas Alex Robertson's first thought is to go forward, and his first thought is to kind of pass and move. And I felt that was really good. I just, if it's not for the Mansfield keeper, we win in that. We could have been the highest victory of the season because their keeper was unbelievable. He made some unbelievable saves. I think he makes a save off Lawler at the back post. Obviously, the one where he gets a bad back pass and Salic really, he should score, but the keeper just throws himself, and you've got to say it's a great save. As a striker, I'm sure he'll say he should have scored. The keeper's got no business saving it, but what a save! He made a few others. The one off Turnbull, he made 5 or 6 just unbelievable saves, and he probably doesn't deserve to be on the losing side. But Cardiff did their job. They were clinical. And like I said, on another day, different keeper, and you could be looking at 5, 6, even more. And I was it's weird. Like, I didn't think Mansfield were very good, but I was also quite impressed with some of the things some of their individuals and some of the things they tried to do. They had a few players out, so maybe that made a difference. They were quite narrow and stuff, and they tried to frustrate us. But once we get the first goal from Fish, great header, by the way, beyond the near post, just gets it right in there. Lovely header. And he was excellent again, Will Fish. Absolutely outstanding. And look, Dylan Lawler takes a lot of the plaudits, and rightly so. Callum Chambers has taken a lot of credit for his sort of revival. But Will Fish has just been so consistent all season, just been really, really good. And as I say, it was a generally very, very good performance by everybody. And that's what you need. And even the manager and the coaching staff, they got the starting 11 spot on. They got the substitutes and the timing of the substitutes spot on. Everything kind of clicked, but without clicking, like I wouldn't say that'll be our best performance of the season by any means. I thought first half we were a bit slow, but in terms of like round pegs, round holes, just doing your jobs, the press just looked well organized, well drilled. Everything kind of just went well in that respect. Like it was almost one of them where the coaches and the manager, I think, will be very, very, very pleased with it, because all the things you work on in the week all came off. You know, the corner was clearly something that had been worked on because they tried it a corner or two earlier, just into the near post and hitting fish. So those things you work on in the week, the pressing, and they will have worked on that press this week because Ruben is such a big part of the press. So, yeah, hopefully his surgery went well and we'll see him soon. But it was pleasing that at least this Cardiff City side didn't look like we did last week when he went off. I think that was like a quiet worry, was that is our build-up play and everything just going to fall apart now because he's not there? Is our pressing going to be less effective because he's not part of it? But we adapted, and we've got a squad to adapt. Interesting that we didn't go with the keeper on the bench yesterday, which is, you know, a bit unlucky on Matthew Turner, of course, but I'm sure he'll play Tuesday. But why I find it interesting is because if everyone's fit, Brian Barry Murphy's got to leave out probably 2-3 established players or first teamers and Mafiko and Naikahawa. So we've got a lot of players, and if they're all playing at their highest level, the manager's got some big decisions to make. Now, as I've said this all loads, but I'll say it again just very quickly. For me, if everyone's fit, I'd have a keeper, I have someone who can cover fullback and a centre-back. Then I have a sort of defensive midfielder or someone who can fulfill that role on the bench. And then after that, I want all creative and attacking options, because you want people who can change the game. And the manager has changed the game in the last couple of weeks. I apologize. I'm looking over here. I'm having to use my other computer. I'm having to use my laptop because my computer's been silly bugger. But let's have a look at the comments. Gavin Kelland, great to see you yesterday, mate, by the way. And thank you so much to everyone who came and said hello and that. I really appreciate it. Like it is a bit humbling sometimes, like, and a bit weird, but like I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate people coming to have a chat and stuff. It's cool, like, you know. Lewis Watts, welcome. Lewis says, what a performance by the lads. Thought Turnbull was outstanding yesterday. That's got to be the blueprint for him going forward. Yeah, I do think he was very good, mate. I really do. I thought he dictated the tempo, although I think Wintle did as well. I just think with Turnbull, I want to see him just be a little bit more progressive, a little bit more aggressive in how he tries to move the ball. I would like to see him go forward. But no, I thought he was decent. Maybe not as good as Reece said yesterday night on the post-game show, but I thought he was good. No, I'm only joking. But I thought he was good. Evening, Martin, Jonathan, JT, what are you saying? JT says, if we sell Lawler, we should include an immediate loan back to us clause. And if that day does happen, Sai will be getting a big payday as his agent. All right, okay. No, mate, look, at the end of the day, I said it so many times, like, in my opinion, just enjoy him while he's here, because he ain't going to be here long. Just simple, because he's going to go play football at the top level. So unless Cardiff get back-to-back promotions, the chances are he probably ain't going to be with us long unless he comes back at the end of his career. He's 19 and he already looks an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. And by the way, it's not just his on-the-ball stuff. His defensive work is so good. He reads the game so well. Sharp Way Home Learning Tips says, I didn't see the game. Were we better balanced without Ruben? I don't know. I don't know if we were better balanced. I think we were very balanced in the way we set up, but I think that was more because Robinson was the 10, so he's a bit more forward thinking. And then we had Turnbull and Wintle behind. I think that balance could have been disrupted if we'd had a different pair behind. Or I think we'll see different. I think we might see Kellyman go in the 10 for certain games. We might see Ashford go in there for certain games. I think he'll do it depending on the opposition. You might see against strong teams, like when we come and play Huddersfield or when we play Stevenage, he might go with like Robertson in there or Joel Colwell in there to have a more midfielder heavy sort of 3 in there. But I don't know if we were better or more better balanced without Ruben as such. I just think it was just different, and it was always going to be different because whoever was going to go in that number 10 was going to give a different version of it, a different twist on it, because it's their skill set, their abilities and their traits. And I thought Callum Robinson did well with it. His link-up play, by the way, this season has gone to another level compared to what it was previously. I still think Callum Robinson is best playing on the last man, because I feel like if you can get him in and around the box and in behind, he's the best finisher at the club. But that's just my opinion. But I think he's shown this year particularly that his link-up play has been excellent. Jonathan says, combination of okay balance and Mansfield being dreadful. Yeah, Mansfield were poor in areas. Martin says Ruben would have absolutely destroyed Mansfield. His movement and ability on the ball would have opened the defence up at will. Yeah, I tend to agree with that, mate. I think he would have been too much for him. Martin also says Turnbull doesn't pass the ball forward or quick enough. Yeah, I think that's fair. Dan Lowe says Wintle was outstanding. Yeah, I think you've really seen a difference when he's come back into the side. Even though I thought Robertson done all right at 6, I think Wintle being the 6 just gives the right balance and a little bit of protection for the defence and for the midfield. Because what I also think as well is I think if you have Wintle in there and you play Robertson next to him at times, Robertson does give you a better tempo and he makes everybody around him play with a higher tempo because he always looks to get that ball back. So, mate, Ryan Wintle, and look, I'm not going to try and pretend any different. In the summer, I was well happy to see him go. But the change in attitude, the change in quality, the work rate, everything about him this season is like a different player. And I'm happy with that because as far as I'm concerned, everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody makes mistakes. Everyone has personality clashes with people. And I think he is quite underrated as a bit of a leader in this group because, quite often Ryan Wintle is playing in a team and he's probably 5-6 years older than everybody else in his team. So he is having to take on that role. He might not be the captain. He might not be, the best player technically out of the team, but he is essential to this team being the best version of itself. Graham says, the fact last night we were picking different men in the match says it's a great team performance. Yeah, I agree with that, mate, 100%. Gavin says, even so, I can't help thinking the team yesterday without Ruben is better equipped to play in a way. It's a more solid team. Yeah, that I could agree with. I could see why this team would work really well away from home. I still worry that with Robinson in the 10 away from home against like a Stevenage or someone like that, we might get cut open a little bit or we might get overloaded in the midfield because Robertson's never going to come all the way back, which he shouldn't because that's not his kind of role in the way he's going to play it. But like obviously when Ruben's in a 10, he does come back into the midfield and become a third midfielder, which is why I think we might end up seeing a bit of a kind of carousel of different options in there, depending on the opposition. And I think that's a good point, which Jonathan makes there. He says, when Ryan Wintle plays, the defence looks more comfortable because they've got the protection, they get the help they need. But obviously that work does go unnoticed because, yeah, it's not pretty, mate. It's not flashy, is it? You're right. But I also think the fact that it's Fish and Lawler in there makes a big difference. Dylan's ball to Kipakio, Gavin says, was unbelievable. Yeah. So look, Jonathan says Ruben in the 10 instead of Robinson would have had a bigger impact, I think, because I don't see Robinson as a 10. I think he's a striker. Yeah, I think Robinson is a striker, mate. And as I say, I think his best position is as an out-and-out number 9. But I also think that he's adapted his game over the last 12 to 18 months, whereby he can do it. But I think and again, I will say I'm not a manager and I'm not in charge. And Brian Barry Murphy knows far more about football than I will ever know. But for me, I think that side, the exact starting 11 that we had yesterday against a good side in League One, might get opened up a little bit. Whereas if you drop in a Joel Colwell or a Kean Ashford or someone who's a little bit more defensively aware, and that's not a criticism of Callum Robinson. He's a striker. And I understand Kean's a forward player, but he's defensively is excellent. Like he's really, really responsible defensively, and he's really just wins the ball back time and time again. Martin says Robertson's subtle, clever pass to Ashford shows he must be given more game time, especially if Ruben's sidelined for a while. Yeah, I thought that. No, it wasn't even just a pass. I just think he brings a real tempo to it, and I think his technical ability. I don't think he's one. There's a few people in this squad at the moment who I just struggle to see us keeping hold of for long term. But hopefully they take us up, because I think that'll give us a bit of breathing room with a lot of these players. You know, with your Ashfords, your Kipakios, your Lawlers, Rubens, whoever, Joel Colwell, all of them, Salic, Alex Robertson. Like if you get promoted, it just gives you a bit of breathing room, and they might hang around for another season, or certainly some of them will. Graham says Salic worked hard yesterday in defence and in attack. Yeah, did you see how many headers he wins defensively? Like when he comes back for corners and set pieces, he wins headers a lot. And I said to my son, right, if they had a corner, we cleared it. It went to about 30, 40 yards out. They started to build up again. They played it out to the right, our left back area. And there was someone down there following the runner. He was trying to dribble past him, and the Cardiff player blocked it. They went out for a corner or a goal kick. And we looked, and it was Yusuf Salic. Like not only had he stayed in there, but he tracked the runner and then stopped the cross. And I was like, that's the attitude you've got to have. Like we have to grind out results at time. And yes, yesterday wasn't one where we had to grind it out in the end, and we could have won even more comfortably than we did. But when we do play the Stevenages of this world and your Luton Towns and the rest of it, we will have to grind out results. We'll have to grind out and get last-minute goals for draws and wins, and we're going to have to win 1-0 and the rest of it. We're going to have to be defensively solid and take our chances. Having that attitude to defend as a team, and it's not just the defender's responsibility to stop the crosses and to track the runners. Like that's what you've got to have. And I just think at the moment there's a real togetherness in this squad, which I like. Martin says Mansfield's 25 Reed was a very clever player. He picked up a lot of second balls. He wasted in that team. Well, actually, I thought Will Evans, former Newport striker, I thought he really stood out as well. And it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Like he's done quite well. Could we have maybe picked him up when he left Newport? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I mean, obviously haven't seen him much this season. But from what I gather, he scored a few goals and he's been dangerous, one of their better players. But there we go. Yeah, the second ball thing was a thing for me. And as good as we were, and as you know, it was a great performance, great team performance, 3-0 win, clean sheet, all of these good things. We didn't win many second balls yesterday at all throughout the game, really. I think in the second half, we probably won more. But first half, it was infuriating me. We win the first contact, and they were just constantly picking up the second ball. And maybe, look, and again, this isn't a criticism of Callum Robinson. It's a byproduct of playing a second striker in that number 10 role. Maybe that's why we're not picking up the second balls, because you haven't got a more natural midfielder in there who's going to then pick up the second balls. I don't know if that's the reason. I've only watched back a bit of the game. I haven't watched it back in full like I normally do before the Sunday show. So I'd have to have a real look at that to see. I thought their keeper was really, really good. But I also think you got to take your chances. And, you know, there's been times this season where we haven't been clinical. And yesterday we did take our chances by and large, but we sort of missed a few. I think like Jonathan's just said there, right? He says Reading and Wigan have both got better keepers than Mansfield, but Mansfield keeper was very good, right? Yeah, of course they have. There's a few good keepers in League One this year. But what you're going to find is teams up their game against us, and they view it as a big, big game, and they dig in. And you're going to find that keepers, defenders, whoever, they're going to have big games against us. And it's up to Brian Barry Murphy, it's up to the squad to navigate that. And I thought we did yesterday. Like, he made 5 or 6 like top quality saves. And on another day, he's probably man of the match, and they either win or get a draw. But we made sure that no matter how many world-class or top quality saves he made, we made sure that we scored, and we kept going, and we kept playing. And I liked that the manager wasn't happy with it at 1-0. He wasn't going to look to shut up shop and keep it at 1-0. Anyone remember the Bristol City game last year when we went 5 at the back with like half an hour to go? And all of a sudden, Bristol fans went from booing their team to getting behind them, and they get a goal. Like, I love that, because instead of being negative and shutting up shop, we went, no, we're going to bring on fresh legs. We got some real quality on the bench. We're going to go see this game out. We're going to score another goal, another 2 goals, and finish the game. That's the mentality which I was talking about. Like, that mentality with Salic is defending. It's that mentality to be positive and go win the football match. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's have a look. Graham says, if they keep playing like yesterday, what position would you sign for January apart from left back? Oh, well, that's mean. It's all right. Here's my problem. I think outside of left back, if you sign anybody in, you probably have to move players out, because we already have a squad that is difficult to pick from if everyone's fit. Got some great youngsters, knocking on the door like Mafiko and Nayakahawa, and you've got obviously Troy Perrett and a couple of others in the 21s as well who were trying to push. I don't think we can go into January and sign no one. I'm not saying that, because I think you need that lift of bringing in players. I think it gives the players a lift, the manager, the coaches a lift. It gives the fans a lift, definitely. So I do think you've got to bring players in. But I think you've got to move at least one out to bring some in. It's just my opinion. I might be wrong. Because I don't think you can drop or rotate 3 established first team players every week, because I don't think you can keep everyone happy. Although when you're winning, everyone tends to be happy anyway. But when you're at a sticky spell, you start getting knocks on the door. So the answer, without answering it, mate, is I really don't know. I was interested probably 2 weeks ago when Matt said he would sign a striker. I thought that was quite fascinating. I would actually like to see, I would still like to see us sign a winger, like a really direct winger, to answer your question, a really, really direct, skillful winger, and maybe move Isaac into the centre forward position, like to fight for that place. I think that's the one thing we really lack, is someone who's really, really direct. I think Isaac does it, but he's not a winger, really. He's a striker who's playing on the wing. I still wish I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get you all drunk and start playing the Darko game. But I still wish we'd signed him in the summer. You know, I just think he would have been such a dynamic sign-in for the midfield, especially with these players like Wintle and Robertson and Ruben and Joel and Turnbull. Like alongside him, they'd have been real good. Jonathan says the only place that Lawler can really improve is his aerial work. He's not very good in the air, but Fish is, and that's why they make a brilliant partnership. I wouldn't say he's not very good, but I agree he's got to probably strengthen that that element of his game. But that'll come as he develops physically. Like he's 19, he probably haven't even finished growing, which is just insane in itself. Like I'm interested in you. Like what positions would you look to bring in? Who would you look to bring in? What positions? What signings? I think it's tricky because I mentioned a few minutes ago about how together this side is. And let's just say we brought in two players, whoever, a left back and a winger, just for instance, right? So you bring them in. Maybe that gives everyone a lift. But in order to bring them in, you move X player out on loan or X player gets sold. Selling that player might disrupt X, Y, and G because they're mates with him and whatever, they're close to him, or it might upset the dressing room. Like it is a really fine balancing act to keep everyone happy. So I think it's important that whatever the ins are, they are the right ones, and whatever the outs are the right ones. Jonathan says, do you think having Ollie Tanner back would be like having a new signing? I do, mate. He only played like 2 or 3 games, didn't he? And I'll tell you something, which I said to my son last night, or yesterday afternoon at the game, because Ollie was right in front of us before the game. He looks like he's lost a good few pounds. He looks like really, really sort of peak condition. And he's moving quite well. I'll tell you that now. He ain't limping. And little birdie told me that he might be a bit further along than what people think, but I have no idea. I think psychologically, having him back for the Christmas run-in would be massive. With Ruben out now till probably the end of January, I think this December and Christmas period is so important to the season. Having Tanner come back before that January window would be massive. I really believe that could be really good. Just for the team, for everyone. Like I really, really like him. Let's have a look. What else you guys are saying? Martin says we need a forward with genuine pace to offer something different to Salich. Well, that's actually why I would like to see Isaac go in the middle, because I think Isaac's quite a good finisher, but he doesn't get that opportunity to show it because he's out wide. I saw someone say, like, I don't know if it was in this or is in the comments on a video. They were saying like Isaac's really dangerous until the final cross, but he's not a winger. And I think I thought he was very good yesterday. And I thought he was, every time he got the ball, he looked dangerous and he looked to get in behind. And that's the one thing we sometimes lack, is a threat in behind, like running in behind. Ruben gives us a bit of a threat, like making those runs in behind. And we quite often used to look for that diagonal ball from the wing to Ruben in the middle, going in behind Salich. So we need to find that again. And maybe that's something that Callum Robinson can bring, is a run from deep behind Salich to get on the end of that. And then Martin also says an aggressive, physical, defensive midfielder would be appreciated. Yeah, I said in the summer, like, we need. I would have liked to have seen a sign like a monster midfielder, like a dual monster who just wins everything and just massive and good on the ball. But it's not as easy as that, is it? You can't just type in the traits you want and there you are. Like, you've got to find the player and scout them, and they got to have the right personality, the wages, and blah blah blah. Gavin Kellen says it's so obvious we need cover for Ruben. Well, maybe we don't, mate, if we got all these choices for number 10. Reese Lasky says, yeah, I agree, Martin. A pacey forward would be a lively option. but would likely upset Robbo as he's already not getting enough minutes. And this is what I was saying about the balancing act, not just for him, but for everyone. You've got to just make sure it's right. So this is interesting. Dan Lowe says, I wouldn't bring anyone in unless we get some bad injuries. This squad is more than capable of winning the league. Even the players who aren't getting a sniff, like Nyakahawa and Mafiko, are good enough. Interesting. I'd like to see Mafiko get a chance sometimes, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because you can't just put him on the bench for the sake of it. And there's other players who offer something off the bench. And I guess a defensive midfielder is not always the option you want off the bench. Graham says he'd like a winger with real pace, another striker, but it's a hardcore with the squad we have. Yeah. Jonathan Mordecai says, with Ruben out for about 20 games, if we're not going to be able to play Kennyman as a 10, I'd like to see us sign a good pacey 10 that's creative and a set play specialist that could really add to the team. Martin says, I think Mafiko will play a crucial role in the new year. JT says we need at least 3 more of injuries. Vincent Taylor says, you've got your left back in Bagan, been watching him. Yes, superb. He's been superb all season, Vincent. The problem is you need a backup. He cannot play every minute of every game. And I swear to God, if Bagan gets a minute of football on Tuesday, I'm going to be very unhappy. Give the man a day off. Reese Lasky says, if Mark Harris bagged 19 at this level, Isaac Davis could bag similar numbers if he played through the middle. In fact, we may look better with a fast striker rather than a unit. I agree with that, mate, wholeheartedly. And actually, if you think back to the last year, quite often, as good as Salic was, quite often the team did function better when Robinson was in the 9. It was just Robinson wasn't able to stay fit. JT says, we'll win the Poxy League if Tam backs BBM in January. He didn't back him in the summer. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think signing someone in the summer, in January, I think it is vital you bring a couple in to freshen things up and make a push for the title. Because I tell you something, right? By the 1st of January, when that window opens, if we have a really good Christmas and December, we could be quite clear. And then it's about kicking on. If we have a bad Christmas and December, we might be sat in like 3rd or 4th and need to really get it together. So it's about backing the manager. I think this manager's shown enough all around, from his philosophy to the way the team's playing, to the quality, to getting the best out of young players, to his in-game management, everything. The way he speaks to the media. He's shown like he's the guy. Back him. Back him. You want to get promoted this year, you got to back him. Whatever the situation is. Gareth Gardner, welcome, mate, says rapid wingers and a left back. Don't mind that at all. Philip James says, I've lost it. Oh, it's gone. I'll find that now. Yeah. Philip James says, a striker. Salic wastes too many chances. Probably why he's playing for us and not for a higher division. Well, in fairness, we turned down all the higher division interest in him. So, I mean, it's not that. And I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. But everyone's entitled to an opinion, isn't they? JT says, so you were trying very hard not to say that person's name when mentioning the monster midfielder. I watched him yesterday versus Stoke. Very unimpressed. Must have been his brother. Yeah, I've heard he's been a bit hit and miss this year, mate. But I just felt like off the back of last season, what he'd done to us as well, that he was a good fit for what a manager wants to do. And also it depends on, I don't know who the manager is at is Gaff now, and it depends how they're playing, who his midfield partners are. There's all hosts of things that can go into it. But yeah, he's not going to come now, I don't think. No, I wouldn't have thought. Reese Lasky says, yeah, I agree with that. Midway through the first half, Robbo was in the 20 18-yard box, through on goal, tight angle, but he opted to cross it. We did that a couple of times. I thought there was one which Keane could have shot in the first half. Gav says, any news on Tan coming to watch a game? Yeah, he's coming soon as well. That was the last I heard, which was about a week ago. They were just trying to work out the logistics and when and blah, blah, blah. But he's got enough home games coming up to try and choose. Martin says, I think Nyakahawa, Giles and Mafika will be loaned in January and we'll land a couple. Yeah, I think the problem is, mate, first of all, I 100% agree with you that those three players will be loaned out in January. The second side of that is, though, them being loaned out doesn't really, like, it does free up space in the squad, obviously, but it doesn't free up space in the match day squad, which was kind of my point. Like, I don't know. It's one of them, and like ultimately we need depth, and I think we need to back the manager. The 28-yard box, indeed. I can read on the fly. Gareth Gardner says Robertson or Kellyman in the 10. I don't think Robinson is the answer. I think Robinson is the answer for some games. Do you know what, though? Tell you what, I wouldn't play Robertson in the 10. I would play Joel Colwell in the 10 if I was going to play one of them. I think Alex Robertson is better with the game in front of him and runners and people to link up off. Joel Colwell yesterday, like his pressing and his ability to carry the ball and his ability to win the ball high up the pitch is a massive asset. He nearly caught their keeper out about 3 times where he's just quicker than he looks. So he's the one I'd be looking at, or Kellyman, or Keane Ashford, mate. Honestly, since Keane come back into the side a few games ago, he's been really, really good. And he took a lot of criticism at the start of the season, not by me, by the way, and not by people on this channel, because I thought it was ridiculous. Like, he's looked really sharp. And yesterday, I thought he was easily in with a shout of man of the match. I thought he was absolutely exemplary. And his attitude and everything which he does is for the team. In fact, there was a couple of points where I thought he should have been a bit more selfish and gone and had a go. But he's one I wouldn't mind seeing in the 10. He did it I'm sure it was for Omar Reese last year towards the end of the season. And he did it well. And obviously he's done it throughout his development career and his younger age groups. I wouldn't be against Keane in there. I wouldn't be against Kellyman in there. I wouldn't be against Alex Robertson in there. Look, I don't think he's the best option. I just think Kellyman, Keane, or Joel Colwell are probably all better, or Callum Robinson are all probably better suited to it. I think Alex Robertson next to Ryan Wintle might be the way forward as the season progresses. Just my opinion, and people might agree, disagree, whatever. It's okay. There was something else. Right, yeah, Isaac Davis through the middle. That's one that I would really like to see. And maybe Tuesday, where, it's going to be predominantly kids, right? Yeah, I think you might see 1 or 2 first teamers in there, but I think it's predominantly going to be the team which played in the last round. Why not put Isaac Davis through the middle? Give him a go and see, because he's proven his fitness this year. So why not, give him a go? Because the manager said at the start of the season he thought that Isaac's a centre forward or striker, but he's going to have to play wide because of the other options they've got. But I think he gives us something different. He gives us a genuine threat in behind. Most of all for Isaac, I'm just really, really, really pleased that he's been able to stay fit this year so far. Touch wood. And I think he's looked sharper and sharper as the season's gone on. And I'm really excited to see what some of these boys can do, because obviously a few of them had, little injuries and stuff like that. So it'd be good. Jonathan says that he'd like to see Kellyman in there, very skillful, quite quick, good height, and add something different, while Colwell is out and his preferred position to play. Yeah, I definitely would like to see Kellyman get a go in there. I just think there's different games will suit different players. My worry with Kellyman is if you put him in the middle, if he struggles a bit physically, where he's going to be up against centre backs and holding midfielders who are going to knock him about a bit. Like, don't get me wrong, he's so skillful and his technical ability is outrageous. But maybe, particularly at home, when we got a nice big pitch and he can hug the touchline and you can switch it over to him and isolate the fullback and he can use those quick feet to get in behind or to cut inside. Maybe he's better suited wide in those games. But I think, like, Kellyman, you've got to be fair to him as well. Like, I didn't even think we've seen him in out-and-out full sprint properly, like, regularly yet, because you can see maybe he's holding back a little bit. He's come back from a really serious hamstring surgery. He's 19 or whatever he is. He's like 18, 19. He's a young lad. It's his first taste of men's football. So, of course, it's going to take him time. I don't even think he's fully fit yet. So, like, people have just got to be ready for him. I do think he's going to have a go in the 10 at some point. And I wouldn't be disappointed to see him in the 10 on Tuesday behind Isaac Davis. I got to say, that would be exciting to me. But if you noticed yesterday when Kellyman come on, he played through the middle with Joel Cotwell. So there's clearly a thought process that he's going to play through the middle at some point. Yeah, I don't think that, as far as I know, Matt Turner hasn't got like an injury or anything. I think it's fairly low risk in it to not have a second keeper on a bench. I know, like, you look silly, don't you, if you have a keeper sent off, but generally speaking, like, you go through the games, don't you, and you don't need to keep the second keeper. And while you got Perry NG there and Joe Bagan there, you don't need a backup keeper, do you? Right. Oh, look at that. 50 minutes. That's flown by, that has. Let's have a look what we got. Dan Lowe says, imagine a front line over Christmas period of Tanner, Ashford in the 10, Willock, and then Isaac Davis up front. Well, mate, think of all the combinations you could have, where you could have, you could have Ashford in the 10, you could have Joel Caldwell in the 10, you could have Tanner. I know Reese really thinks, it's said for a while, he thinks that Tanner would be good in the 10. I don't really see that, but, like, I don't hate it either. I think the manager will switch him around a little bit and just depend. Joe Bagan's save against Leeds wasn't an official save. Yeah, he wasn't the official keeper. Of course, but still good, isn't it? Graham says, isn't it a breath of fresh air to be having conversations we're having this season or last season? Yes, it is, mate. Do you know what I'm enjoying most of all this season? Is winning football matches. It's wholeheartedly not as depressing as last year. And I'll tell you something else, right? I was speaking to a friend of mine earlier. Let me see if I can just bring up the message. I won't read it out in full because I don't want to give away who it is. But let me sort of say this, right? We were having a discussion. And if you look in the top 10 of the Championship, you've got Derby, Preston, Millwall are up there. I look at their squads and I look at our squad and I think I'd rather our squad. Now, our squad is a work in progress in a lot of ways. They're young, they're learning, etc. And we're going to have bits of inconsistency along the way because they're learning. Some of them, a few of them are in their first ever men's football season, so it's going to take a bit of adapting at times. And this period now, from now until January, is going to be brutal for some of these players. They will never have played this many games of football this close together, and that's something to bear in mind. But I just look at some of the teams in the Championship and I think, God, this young team would really do well against some of them. I know Wrexham made changes, but we've absolutely destroyed Wrexham. But There we are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted. Yeah. By the way, I know the Millwall lad who watches the channel because he's mates with Reese. Reese said he thought you didn't send him enough voice notes this weekend, and he needs more. So send him one. I think at least 2 or 3 a day will be enough, but try and pick it up a bit. Right, last couple because I was starting to go. Gareth Garner says, so would you start Osho and Chambers on Tuesday to keep them fresh? I wouldn't start Chambers. I would start Osho. And I would start him alongside either Cato or De Bono, depending on their fitness. I do think it's important that if it was me, I would have a mix of fringe first team players. So by that, I mean Osho, Turner, Mafiko, Naikahawa, mixed in with the boys who played in the last round. I think they deserve that. I wouldn't be against putting Kellyman in the 10 and Isaac up through the middle. If that was like, I wouldn't play them if they weren't going to play in those positions, if that makes sense. But if there was like a thought process of let's have a look at those two in those positions, then I'd be well up for that. And have like a spine of like Turner, Osho, Mafiko, Kellyman, Isaac, and then Naikahawa on one side, and then you have some of the younger lads filling out Troy Perrott. So yeah, there's a few different things there to think about. I'm one of them who at the start of the season I said we should probably be looking to win the Virtue Trophy because it's League One and down, but financially it's fucking hardly worth the trouble. And I think it's what I like about it is it's a good opportunity to really give young players a go. Now, I think Wimbledon will play a fairly strong side. I don't think they will play their first side, but I don't think they will play kids either. I thought I couldn't remember if it was De Bono or Keita, mate. Yeah, De Bono's injured, so maybe Keita goes in there alongside Osho, but we shall see. I like the fact that it gives these young players a real taste of first team football and men's football. But I also would like to get through as well. Like ultimately, like if we were to go out, I'm not going to cry about it, but I'll rather, I really go through. I would give us a nice mix of sort of peripheral first team players and the youngsters. So like Reece Lasky has said, his 11 for Wimbledon would be Matt Turner, Will Spears right back, Kingdon and De Bono. De Bono's injured, centre back, Giles at left back, Mafiko in the 6, Osho in the 6 as well, Perrott in 10, Troy George left, Pierce 9, Naikahawa right. Yeah, I like Parfit. He'd be nice. Yeah, so Wimbledon have sold 9 tickets for Tuesday, so they're going to be in a different part of the ground. So be nice to them if they're by you. Fair play, though, to those 9. Tell you that now. But I don't think Wimbledon will play their kids. I think there will be a mix of squad players and maybe 1 or 2 kids. I might be wrong, though. I'd have to have a look at what they've done so far in the tournament. But they will view it as, like, you know what teams do in the Carling Cup or whatever it's called now, Carabao Cup? They play the youngsters and the squad players until the knockout stages. And then when the knockout stages come, they start to slip in a couple of first teamers because they want to go through. And then when it gets to the semi-finals, suddenly all the first teamers are back in. So maybe that's the way we should be treating it, is try and get through as far as we can. And then you look at it, it's a trip to Wembley and all that sort of stuff if you get through. But first things first, you play Wimbledon on Tuesday. And look, those kids in the last game in the Virtue Trophy were absolutely exceptional. And I think by and large, it will be a similar, a lot of those kids will be involved. And rightly so. But I would definitely mix in a couple of first teamers with it. Right, I'm not going to read out everyone's team, but I'll read out this one because this is quite an interesting one. Jonathan says his team for Wimbledon would be Matt Turner, Kingdon and Parfit as your fullbacks, Osho and Keita at centre-back, Mafiko and Robertson in midfield, Kellyman, Sorry, I was laughing at Reece Lasky's post. Kellyman in the 10, Naikahawa, Isaac Davis, and Manny Barton. Don't hate that lineup at all, mate. I think that's a good mix. A real good mix. Who would be your captain in that team? It's interesting, isn't it? Right. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for joining. If you haven't already, check out 5 Things We Learned from earlier on and the post-match show from yesterday. And yesterday morning, we dropped a new series that we're going to be doing as part of the previews of the game. So we're going to do an out-and-out preview, which will be out the day before the game. I probably won't do these for the midweek games, but the Saturday games, I would have. We're going to have either Friday night or Saturday morning. It's going to be a look at the manager and the tactics. So it'll be BBM versus. So Saturday morning, we had BBM versus Nigel Clough. And it was quite interesting. I had some nice comments about it. And it's just a way to build out the kind of preview content of the games. Look forward to it. A bit of match day content in the morning, whatever it may be. And as always, Cardiff City World, 7 days a week, Bluebirds content. This Wednesday, I'm going on a trip. I'm not going on my favorite rocket ship. I'm going to interview someone really quite interesting. So keep a lookout for that. I'm sure it'll be on social media by Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday night. But that'll be out soon enough on the channel. And I've also got, that's not even the thing that I've been alluding to recently. That was just something which came about last week. It's something I've been trying to set up for about 3 years, or I don't know, how long ago was it that I did the show with the regular show with Andy Campbell? Been trying to set it up since then. So, very excited for that on Wednesday. And of course, we got some other stuff coming, loads of stuff. Please do just make sure you've liked the video. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not a member, become a member. That allows us to do 7 days a week content. Tell your mates, spread the word. Tell everyone. Cardiff City World, Cardiff City content, 7 days a week. Thank you very much for your time and company this evening. Considering I was going to do a quick short half hour, flew to an hour. Absolutely flew. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Keep the faith, and I'll see you in a bit. This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.